morning everybody from the beautiful city of Tehran here in Iran. I'm running my morning errands. I feel like we're doing this every morning, getting money exchanged and doing a variety of other tasks, but I want to make this video to share some of the difficulties that I faced in traveling this country, because out of all the countries I've been to, I think it's probably the most difficult due to the lack of information online, the lack of English and that kind of stuff. So there's a variety of points that I want to talk about in this video as we run some errands. I'm on the way to find a coffee shop to get a little bit of caffeine in me. But before we actually go into some of the points, one thing I've noticed, which isn't a difficulty, but everyone starts speaking to me in Farsi. Like, out of all the countries that I've been to, I've not had this many like interactions where I'm just like sitting on the curb and people, I guess, like asking for directions or something. I was just in a pharmacy getting some chapstick because it's so cold here, and like the lady started speaking to me in Farsi, and then the guys outside wanted me to buy them food, I think, and I just don't really know how to respond. I'm like, I don't speak your language. Anyways, let's try find a coffee shop. Look at that beautiful mosque right there. Amazing. Here we go. This place looks like it sells coffee. Salam. How are you? You're good? Can I get coffee, please? Oh, they even got... just latte is okay? Thank you. So this is one thing, guys, is that there's no English here. I think I'm even looking at this the wrong way. So you can use Google Translate and take a photo of this and kind of get the translation. I will actually do that just to show you guys. So if you go on like Google Translate, take a photo of this, and it actually is like super helpful when it actually works. Here we go. So we've got energy drink. I mean, sometimes it's not as accurate, but here we go. The drinks, hot chocolate. I don't know the numbers though. What is it, 140? Like $1 or $2 US. So you can do that in any country really. Oh, should we get a little chalky croissant, guys? I'm a slut for these. So the money situation is going to be the main talking point of this video, because it's very interesting. Thank you. 200. And can I get one of these, please? Chocolate croissant? Chocolate, please. Yeah, please. Thank you. Yeah, this one? Is this chocolate? Yes, yes. Yeah, just this one, please. Great. Thank you. Thank you. How much is it?
300.
300? Okay, thank you. Alright, let's take a seat over here. Can't really ask for many better backdrops, right? Look how beautiful that is. So 300, this is where it gets confusing with the money situation. I'm starting to wrap my head around it, but they simplify a lot because there's so many zeros. Literally the Iranian currency, I'll show you guys. This is 1 million rial, but on the new notes they've printed it down into hundreds. So this is worth like $1 US. The current rate while I'm here is around $1 US equals 900,000 rial. So this is around like $2, no, like just over $3. Let's try out the latte. I love being able to just come to coffee shops like this and just observe. It's really cool, guys. So before I go into what is the list that I have that I want to speak about, it's fucking freezing in this country, guys. Salam. Salam alaikum. So another example of people speaking to me in Farsi. It's 4 degrees right now. Tomorrow I'm leaving Tehran to go down to the south where it's beautiful weather, and when I'm leaving at, what's the time? At 7 a.m. it's -6, guys. I don't do well in cold climates. -6? That's scary. I've never been in that level of temperature unless I'm specifically going on a ski holiday. But there's a few things I want to talk about in order of what I think makes the most sense here in Iran. Number one I want to speak about is the visa situation. This is by far the hardest country I've had to get a visa. Not that it was like a super difficult process, it was a very spontaneous trip. But supposedly, depending on your nationality, right, there's basically like 6 or 7 countries, the most notable countries being the US, England, and Canada, where you guys can't come to Iran without a guide. So you have to be guided the whole time. So luckily, as an Australian, I can go out and be just on my own without someone here, and that's why the whole trip is gonna be solo. But if you're American, a Brit, or a Canadian, and a few other countries, unfortunately, you guys are gonna have to get in contact with the tour guide. I will actually suggest, I do have a friend here, Ehsan, who's a tour guide in Shiraz, and without him, I would be screwed in this country. He's been doing so many things, like paying for things, obviously like communicating with me and translating things, because the one difficulty that you'll find is that there is just no way to book things. The country of Iran is like blocked off to the Western world in terms of like payment solutions and stuff because of the sanctions, and Visa and MasterCard doesn't work. It's just a headache. So a lot of the hotels that I booked on this trip have been through my friend Ehsan, who my buddy Mac went on a big trip with, and he's a cool guy. And what we're actually doing later on in this video is going to the money exchange to send him like $600 or $700 worth of Iranian rial, because he's booked a lot of the hotels for me. If you're any other nationality, you can get an e-visa. Now, I was confused because it says that Australians can get a visa on arrival, but you still need a pre-authorization code. You still need to apply for the e-visa, and then once you get the e-visa back, then you can land at the airport and do that. Now, I originally submitted this by myself, which you're allowed to do, and I just didn't hear back from anyone. Now I posted on Instagram about this, and I heard from a follower that he also was in a similar situation, waiting months for this e-visa. And he actually just like caught a flight from Turkey to Tabriz, I believe, in like the, what is it, northwestern part of Iran, and then just like they figured it out on when he arrived. Like they were chill, they got him the visa. Now I didn't really want to do that coming here. I'd prefer to have it all sorted out, so I use, again, my buddy Ehsan to get in contact with an agency here to apply for the visa. It took like 5 or 6 days. There's a few notable ones. Tap Persia is pretty popular, and I used Up Persia. That's if you want to get the visa. This is actually a damn good croissant. I took off the whole top there. Oh, it's so flaky. Oh my goodness. Wow. If I could start my morning every day like this is how I do it. Making a mess of myself. Oh my god. So, once you have the visa sorted, if you go through an agency, I had to supply my itinerary. Now I wanted to keep this trip super open, so I'm like changing it and just like emailing them as I go, which they're probably not happy with. But I think they have to inform some organization or some part of the government what my moves are. This is damn good. So once you have the visa, well, you can now book your flights to Iran. Miraculously, not once when I was checking into any of these flights to get here was I asked to show my visa, which is just like unheard of, like especially for a country that so clearly needs a visa. So I didn't even need to have to show it. So I was thinking if I never got the visa that I would just fly here, and I wasn't concerned about arriving here and being rejected, but I was concerned about the check-in staff not letting me board the flight because I didn't have an active visa. Anyways, that was just a concern I had. Never had to follow through with that. I feel like we're going around in circles, but guys, also there is one island in Iran that's a 50-minute flight from Dubai. They have daily flights. It's called Kish Island, which I'm going to be going to in about a week or so. And anyone can enter there for 14 days visa free, even Americans. So you can go there and actually visit Iran. It's kind of like, it honestly reminds me a lot of like Dubai. It looks like very cool, very luxury, nice beaches and stuff like that. So you can actually still visit Iran if you go to Kish Island, K-I-S-H. So that's an alternative if you can't get the visa. You're not going to experience like any of the culture or anything there, but it's a relatively new economic zone, but that's an option. I flew into Tehran airport. There's a separate part at immigration for the visa on arrival, and you go into this room. Now it's also handy to note that whatever you put on your e-visa, the amount of days that you're staying, you can stay up to 30, but whatever you put on your entry and exit date, you only get that many days. It's 165 euros for me. It depends on the nationality as well, it changes. You can pay with dollars or euros there. You can't pay with bank card. But even though I paid the 165 euros, I can only stay the 14 days because that's originally what I put on my application. So even if you're here for just like 1 or 2 days, it's gonna cost 165 bucks or euros, basically the same. Or if you stay 30 days, which I believe is the current limit, then you're gonna be paying 165. When I was getting my visa at the airport in Tehran, the lady was super kind. She'd actually been to like Canberra in Australia, I think, as a diplomat. So they were super friendly. Like, so the people here are so friendly. Like, it's honestly crazy. Like they're so kind, so friendly, so helpful. But yeah, paid the visa fee there, and it actually comes with travel insurance because a lot of policies around the world don't cover countries like Iran because of the sanctions. So if I get into an accident here or need to go to hospital, which is probably likely because I always end up in hospital, then my current travel insurance is not going to work here. But you actually get travel insurance with the e-visa. Now, I didn't really know this until like a few days later. I got this random email. So I got this random email here like 2 days after I entered the country. And this is the details. I'll put it up on screen and blur out any information. But the main things are the limit. I get 10,000 euros worth of care. And the premium is $10 or 10 euros. So yeah, I guess if anything happens, then at least we got that covered, which is actually pretty good that they're doing this. But once I got the visa on arrival, I went through the immigration. He didn't really ask me any questions. Didn't have to show an exit flight. I didn't have to show an exit flight to anyone, even though I had one booked. Like, no one asked questions about this trip like they would. Like in Dubai, people are always asking, you know, when are you leaving the country, or like show me your return ticket. Like I had all of that, but no one even asked me for it, which is interesting. But that's basically the process of getting a visa and getting into the country. I'll put up any other information I've missed when we're editing this video. Alright, I'm randomly thinking of things, guys. One other thing to note is that Iran is on the countries, one of 7 countries, I believe, where if you visit, you're no longer allowed to get the ETSA to visit the USA. So Iraq, I believe, Yemen, Iran, North Korea, and a few other ones, Cuba as well. If you visit these countries, you're no longer allowed to apply through the ETSA, and you have to go into the embassy, have an interview, and then get a 10-year visa to the United States of America. Now, it'd be super easy for me to just apply online to the ETSA if I hadn't visited these countries, but they ask you specifically, have you been there? They ask like, why you've been there, and you're always gonna get asked to have an extra interview. So, if you come here, you're no longer gonna be allowed to visit the US with like the ETSA program, which is like the electronic travel authorization. But with that in mind, they don't actually stamp your passport here. So I don't really know how they're gonna figure it out. You guys can risk that if you want, but I'm already on that kind of ban because I went to Iraq in 2021. So we're just kind of like playing Pokemon out here. We're just collecting them all the countries that the US hates. So that's another thing to note. If you are coming here, there could be potential issues with that down the future. Let's finish up here. We'll go on to the next spot, and I'll mention the second thing that I think is difficult about traveling here in Iran. Look how beautiful this is, guys. We've got the call to prayer playing as well. Now, I'm not a woman, if you can't already tell, so I'm not sure how to comment on the situation of covering your head. Now, here I'd say like 50% of women are wearing a hijab. In some malls, there's signs saying it's required. As a tourist, like I'd say if you're a chick and you're here, just wear it, see what the vibe is. You just kind of don't want to draw attention to you. So yeah, that's all I'm going to comment on that situation. But the second thing that I want to talk about once you have your visa and you're in the country is booking hotels and booking flights, because it's an absolute nightmare, guys. And that's why Ehsan has been so helpful in booking a lot of these things for me, because due to the sanctions, a lot of booking websites that we know and use don't work. They don't even show the flights. You know, flights from Tehran to Bandar Abbas, where I'm going tomorrow, you look that up on Google Flights, it doesn't even come up. There is no flights available. It goes through like Dubai or something when there's tons of direct flights. So there's local websites here. I'm not going to act as if I know what my friend Ehsan is using to actually book these, but I really would suggest finding someone here to book stuff, because not only is it hard to book these things, but actually paying for them is like the next struggle because of the banking situation here and it being kind of cut off to the banking system that we use back at home. Trip.com, because it's Chinese owned, has some hotels available in Tehran. I tried to book one and it needed like a 12-hour confirmation or something. It never came through, so I canceled that. But yeah, like honestly, if I didn't have someone here booking these hotels, I'd be kind of screwed. So Ehsan, if you're watching this, thank you so much for your help. I'll put his details below. He's a tour guide here in Iran, and he went on an epic trip with my buddy Mac all around the country. So I'm sure if you guys are planning a trip here, he can help you out. There's a diplomat office there, and there's someone, diplomat police. All right, I'm not gonna film that, because yeah, that's probably something else we should talk about. So if you have a local contact here that can book your hotels, it's gonna make a hell of a difference. I really just don't even know where to do it, so I'm not even gonna suggest anything to you. But the other thing I'll say is that if you don't know Farsi, then you're screwed as well, because all the confirmations come through Farsi, all the hotel bookings, none of it's in English, unless you're booking through an English platform, which is very unlikely because they're not gonna be operating here due to the sanctions. So my suggestion, get someone to book your hotels for you, and you can go to the money exchanges and send the money directly to their account, which we're on the way to do. So you got your visa, you got your hotels booked. The next issue that you're likely gonna face if you're coming to Tehran, guys, is the traffic. So how do you book taxis and bikes here in this country? Well, it took me a day to figure it out, and I'm glad I did figure it out, because transport by bike is so much more efficient than cars in this crazy city. Tehran is one of the most crazy cities when it comes to traffic, and I can only comment on this city because I've not been anywhere else, but from what I know, it's just Tehran. The other big cities and kind of islands are usually pretty good, but there's an app called Snap that is basically the Uber here in Iran. So this is the Snap app, everybody, and you can order food, all kinds of things. It's literally just like Uber. It's actually kind of like the super Uber. You can get doctors, hotels. Oh, I didn't even know you could buy hotels here. That's kind of cool. Again, you can book stuff, but then the issue of paying it, unless you're paying in cash, is quite difficult, and usually they require deposits. But if you want to book something, you just put where you are. It's pretty simple. Put where you're going, and then you have the option of selecting a cab, a bike, or you can deliver stuff here. So you do need an Iranian phone number to set this up. The app is also in English though, so that helps. But you're gonna have to get a SIM card, get an Iranian phone number, and then you're able to use this. But you can pay with cash. It's like a bike. 440 rial, like literally 50 cents to go like a few kilometers, which is cool. But if you can't do this for whatever reason, I found taxis and bikes are really hard to get off the street because there's a big language barrier, as well as just, there's actually just not many like taxis around. I feel like they're hard to hail down. When I did it by myself a few days ago, it was quite difficult, and then explaining the whole process. So I highly suggest try and get Snap as soon as you get here, so that you can actually do this. Now that takes me on to the next point, is if you are arriving to Tehran airport, there's a bunch of scammers. Like it's almost as bad as Delhi, to be honest, but they're gonna try and rip you off with SIM cards, they're gonna try and rip you off with taxi rides, and also gonna rip you off with the dollar exchange rate. So there's a website that I'm gonna put up. It's like a dodgy website showing what the current kind of rate is for the rial, and there you can actually negotiate. You're gonna get like a slightly lower rate. We're on our way to the exchange now to do all this, but they tried to pull the, oh look at Google, it's 40,000 rial per US dollar, when in reality it's like 800 to 900,000. So if you exchange at the airport, you're gonna get a terrible rate. You need to come down to Tehran in kind of the city center. There's a whole street filled with people that are selling in the exchanges, but then also on the street, giving you sometimes a better rate. So in terms of the money situation, guys, you have to bring in US dollars or euros or another big currency here. USD and euros are the best. People are always going to accept them. Make sure they're bigger notes, in reasonable condition. But there's specific parts around each city. Here in Tehran, I'm about like 200 or 300 meters away from where all the exchanges are, and you go in, you get the rate. If you don't speak Farsi, you're probably going to get like a little bit of a less rate, but you can like negotiate. But you can also actually send money to Iranian accounts. So that's why we're going today to take around like $1,000 US, and hopefully they're going to be able to send it to my friend Ehsan, who's down in Shiraz, and I can pay him for all the accommodation he's booked on this trip. So they don't like filming down there because it's kind of, you know, a bit of a underground kind of thing. So I'm gonna walk there now, I'll film when I can, but I'll give you guys an update afterwards. My goodness guys, after literally an hour and a half in the exchange, getting these payments done, Ehsan finally has his money, but I still need to actually exchange cash for, or dollars for cash here. I didn't want to do it at the same place just to get a little bit more of an experience. It's always interesting meeting the hustlers on the street. So I'm walking the opposite direction because I don't want to film in the area. But yeah, that was so difficult. Luckily the guy there spoke decent English, but there's a lot of translation. I had Ehsan on the phone. They sent part of the money and then didn't send the other part, and then they're using different banks and stuff, but Ehsan finally got his money. So I sent $860 US, which is 800 or around like 780 million Iranian rial. I almost did my first $1 billion deal, guys, but it is crazy the numbers that they're using here in the millions, like 780 million. Anyways, I'm gonna go get $400 or $500 exchange on the street because the next little bit of the trip once we leave Tehran is gonna be not as accessible to get cash. Hormuz Island, where we're going next, is literally an island that's like 3 or 4 kilometers long. There's no exchanges there. And after that, there's a few other places that we're visiting, but there's not gonna be many exchanges. So I wanna have cash on me, ready to go. So let's try and find someone else that will give us a good rate. We got 905,000 rial per US dollar in the end, but that was because we had to go through the bank transfers, giving them cash, so we should be able to get maybe like 910 if we do it on the street, but 905 will be the bare minimum. So won't be able to film much of the process, but man, the banking and money system here is just not working. It's so difficult, and there's the biggest difficulty traveling here in Iran for sure. Money exchange, is where all the money people are, so I can't film, otherwise they're gonna cause issues. By getting 910 for it. Alright guys, we're kind of out of the exchange area. I'm not going to hold my camera up too high because we're at a very secure building right now, and I see a police office guy. So yeah, we got all the money. Let's find an area to chill, and then I can take you through the past hour or so. Snap. Good. Yes. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so guys, as I said earlier, you can get snaps around. I wanted to film this part, so we got the German embassy here, also the Irish embassy. They're super heavily secure, but it's always interesting seeing embassies around in countries that like, you know, have the media kind of against them. So guys, as we go to the hotel to drop off our millions of rial, hundreds of millions actually, I wanted to add why I'm making this video, and that is the next difficulty in Iran is that there's not many people that have been here and done extensive, I guess, like how to travel here videos. And from the little bit of research that I did before here, I learned so much more with boots on the ground than any blog or any video can actually share. So that's why I wanted to make this, to share my perspective and my kind of on the run thoughts of the past couple days here. So hopefully if anyone is actually coming to visit, you can use some of these things as advice. Not that I ever would recommend using my advice, because it's generally terrible, but it is helpful to know how certain things work. So before coming here, there really was not much that I could look at. There were blog posts, there were some YouTube videos, but a lot of it has just been on the run, figuring it out along the way. Just like when I changed money then. Didn't know how to transfer to a bank account, figured it out. When I was getting cash, he actually gave me like the old currencies. I need to look up whether the old currency was actually still in use. So you kind of like learn these things and pick them up along the way. But they're about to make it to the hotel. I'll show you guys my stacks of millions, and then we'll add in my final thoughts of the trip so far here in Iran. Yeah, here's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, you can keep this. It's okay, no change. Nice to meet you. So that ride there, guys, was about 10 minutes, and I gave him 1 million rial. I think it was only like 700 on the app, but just like $1 to get around. It is very cheap here to actually travel. Here we are, staying at 101. And the room should have been nicely done up while I've been away. It smells good. Hell yeah. Nice fresh room. It is so cold, my nose is dripping like crazy. So guys, this is the cash that we got. 350 million real, approximately. I think it was like 360 or something like that. But this right here is worth $400, which is crazy. Now, one thing when traveling is you have to kind of adapt to situations, and that's the beauty of traveling, is that you're put in circumstances where you have to think on your feet, figure out the solutions to everything, and become a problem solver. And there's gonna be little things when you travel that test you and figure it out. And like, just a very brief example is when I was given this money, I hadn't seen the old banknotes, so I had to double check that these were still like legal tender. So you can see these ones, 100 or 1 million real notes. There's the new ones that are these like blue ones that are like kind of different, you know, they're just like very new. So I was like, oh, well, you know, maybe they're not still used. So you have to like figure that out as you go. I didn't count anything because I just trust the guy, and I prefer to not have the, be counting anything out in public in that scenario. I think it's better just to trust the guy, and they're usually, you know, wrapped up in 100 million kind of blocks, and then you got the rest off like this. But we ended up getting 880,000 per $1 because I had 50 USD notes. Now, when you're coming here and other countries that kind of are in like a similar situation, like Myanmar when I was there, sometimes they're very strict on the actual USD note condition. So in Myanmar particularly, they would only accept 100 USD notes, and they had to be in like pristine condition. They had to have the blue stripe, which was like the new note of the 100 USD bill. Now here, they're not as strict on the notes, but obviously if you have smaller denominations, it's not as valuable. Even if you had 100 $1 bills, you're not gonna get the same price for one $100 bill, just because it's not as valuable. So when he saw that I had 50s, the price changed to 880 versus the original 910 that was quoted. And you know, in those situations, sometimes I just would prefer not to be conflictive or create any conflict. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I've been here, standing here for like 10 minutes in the freezing cold. Let me get out of here. But guys, look at the money that we got. This is crazy. Hello. This is the Bank of Iran speaking. Yes, I'd like a loan of $1 trillion, please. That's crazy. 300 USD, and we have this kind of cash. But I wanted to wrap up with some final thoughts on this country and why I wanted to make this video, because when I was coming here, I did a little bit of research. It was very spontaneous, this trip, and it was only like a few days notice, and I couldn't research like as much as possible. But from the brief research that I did, there was such little information online, and it's constantly changing as well. There were a few blog posts, there were a few YouTube videos, but I've learned so much with boots on the ground here and actually like experiencing these things that I just thought that it'd be useful for anyone coming here and anyone wanting to know what the reality is of me being here at this point in time and the situations that we face just as like travelers. So I hope this is helpful. I wouldn't say take my advice because it's probably terrible advice, but you can take my experience and see what I've shown in this video and how you guys can do it if you are like traveling here in the future. But this place is amazing. Like Tehran, such a vibe. The people are so friendly here. The Iranian Persian hospitality. Like I met so many nice people. The English is lacking, which is an issue, especially when you need like kind of in-depth like English or Farsi to like do like transactions like this, or like when you're talking big numbers. So that has been a difficulty. But when you come across someone that speaks English, or even if they speak a little bit of English, they're just so friendly. So it's been such a nice experience being here. But the other thing I just wanted to mention is I felt like very safe in Tehran. I would say that probably because it's the biggest city, it's probably the most unsafe with like crime and stuff. I'm just saying that, I don't actually know. But I've walked around at night, and the only thing that has been an issue is the cold. Like there's been times where my fingers are like literally freezing. I can't feel my fingers. But I felt very safe at night. I've felt safe walking around. I've never felt like in danger or anything. And just, I don't know, I kind of like blend in. It's like when I was in Afghanistan. I just like, especially with the local attire there, I was just blending in. People thought I was Afghan because of the diversity of the country. But here as well, like they don't dress, you know, in that kind of conservative, traditional dress. There's people that are looking very like stylish and stuff. So even just what I'm wearing now with like a bum bag with all my cash in it, Like I blend in and people are coming up to me speaking Farsi. I'm like, bro, I have no idea what you're saying. I wish I could help, but I can't. And that's like the first time that's happened extensively in any country here in Iran. So I hope this video was somewhat useful for anyone coming here. As I mentioned, basically the premise of this video is that to make things easier in this country, you need to have a local contact. And there's tons of people that I've been speaking to on Instagram. There's tons of people that reached out when I said that I was doing this trip. And there's people that you can meet on like Facebook pages and stuff. It's not my fault if you get kidnapped by meeting people on Facebook pages, that's your fault. But the number one thing I'd say is if you want to make this trip as smooth as possible, is to have a local contact here. Because my friend Ehsan, even though I've not met him, he has been so much help just getting things booked and translating things. Like, it's just a time saver. Like, I only have 2 or so weeks here and I don't want to spend like a whole day just figuring out how to book on these random travel payment agencies. So for me, it's like actually like time saving that I can actually use exploring parts of the country rather than spending a whole day figuring out how to book all these things, how to make the payments and stuff. So obviously that is part of the travel experience. Like, I love rocking up to a country with nothing planned and just rocking up to hotels. But if you are like trying to, you know, have a kind of easier process so you can enjoy more of the culture rather than sitting on your laptop booking things, then I'd suggest like getting in contact with someone here. And Ehsan, great guy. On my next trip to Iran, when I do the big cities, when it's better weather, not cold like this, I'm going to be meeting him in Shiraz, where he is from. But these are the difficulties of traveling Iran in 2025, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed. See you in the next video.